we can play out these whatever comes to mind, and the stories that would come to fruition as well. And that's really what I think God is doing, just going with all these ideas and possibilities of what it's like to be everybody on this planet, and animals and plants and minerals and even inorganic objects as well. And just like you were saying, even when we changed places, where sometimes you're the next time they become your mother or something like that, and really just to remove judgment and to find the divine constantly, and no matter what form that it's hiding in, peekaboo and hide and seek with the divine perpetually. The creator is playing and in love with this concept and in love with expanding it.
Yeah, I don't see anything bizarre in this idea, because I mean, especially now with the rate of technology and consciousness, the way things are progressing, consciousness being quite a bit slower than technology, but we're getting better. More and more moments come about where science and fantasy collide.
I love that! That gets me so excited!
It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, anybody who's read a book by Arthur C. Clarke knows what I'm talking about. A guy that just wrote about, I mean, granted, he was a physicist and a scientist, so his ability to anticipate the future was slightly more advanced than mine or the average person. But
don't compare.
Well, at some point you want to kind of see how you compare to smart people. But I've just
it's all relative. It's all different perspective.
He's a smart guy. Let's just leave it.
Well, I consider you pretty smart too, so let's leave it at that.
Okay. I just finished reading 2065 by Arthur C. Clarke, and this is the same man that wrote 2001: Space Odyssey, a film also produced by Stanley Kubrick. And a lesser-known version, part 2 of the film, was 2010: Space Odyssey, and then 2 more, which actually very few people know about, and it was the 2065 part 3, and part 4, which I'm just itching to read, is 3001: Space Odyssey, which I heard is the absolute best. But what I read today blew my mind, and it's exactly that, what Anastasia talks about, in a different form. So the monolith.
Do tell.
So the stories are about these monoliths that are discovered on Earth about 4 million years ago, I think. They're not discovered on Earth 4 million years ago. They were put on Earth 4 million years ago. One was on Earth, one was on the Moon, the other one was on one of the Jovian satellites. I think it was Io or Europa. I forgot, but one of the moons around Jupiter. And this is all sci-fi. And every few million years, depending on the progress of the civilization on, say, either planet Earth or the Moon or Io, every few years, every few million years, when a civilization triggers the monolith triggers it back to cause a quantum leap in consciousness. So when the apes discovered the first monolith on Earth, it spawned intelligence upgrades where they became human beings. And then hundreds of thousands of years later, they discovered the monolith on the Moon. Their technology got to the point where they triggered the monolith on the Moon, and the monolith on the Moon triggered the monolith on Europa or Io. I keep forgetting one of those.
It's okay. Close enough. Either or.
Close enough, yes. And so then mankind made another leap in consciousness where they were able to evolve their technology from not only going to the Moon now, but all the way to Jupiter in just a few months, and explore the entire solar system. And Europa, one of the moons by Jupiter, was inhabited already by water beings. It's a water planet, and it's inhabited by water beings, and there's a monolith that protects them and forbids humans to land there. So,
forbids humans. What was that? Sorry, say that again. Forbids
humans from interfering with the life on one of the Jovian moons. So this is sci-fi, but again, anyone who's familiar with Arthur C. Clarke knows that he's pretty much a prophet. He nailed so many things before NASA discovered them, that there's like a whole list of things that the guy pretty much predicted, and he himself before his death has no idea how it happened, whether it was his intelligence that was able to leap so far ahead, or whether it was truly divine inspiration, or whatever you want to call it. Where do these things come from? I have no idea, but is it possible for other intelligent life forms to implant planets or guide young species along, or young civilizations along? Why not? Why is it not possible that one day, when we figure it out between ourselves and transcend war and separation, if we unite in some sort of universal quest and we walk among the stars, why would it be such an outlandish thing that we ourselves may assist other forms of life to evolve to their highest potential? If we master technology and science and unite it with something bigger, with the heartbeat of the universe, why would it be such an outlandish idea that we may assist the universe in harmonious and loving co-creation? That's not bizarre to me. Well, I think that scientifically that will happen. It's just a matter of time.
It's bound to happen. I mean, how is it possible that we can understand something as complex as a satellite, but absolutely nothing about the human heart or dreams or love, and we're so in the dark with that? I just find that very, very baffling. And, you know, Jewel brought that up in one of her songs. I think it was called Satellite. And it's just a really interesting point. You know, what's happening there? Where is our focus? Where's our values lie? And I really feel that when you look at a bug, for example, I really think that this is nanotechnology of love. And so there is this technology aspect, but it's also fused with this huge amount of heart. And I think that if people, when they're creating their technology, if they could put more heart rather than mind. I mean, yes, mind is necessary and needed to make sure everything functions as so. But the heart intelligence, again, it just has very different rules, and the way it functions is so much more efficient in a lot of ways, right? I mean, just all these animals that we have that are given to us, and all the things that they teach us, and just... I remember when I was looking at an owl one time, and I felt like I was looking at the most sophisticated, state-of-the-art camera lenses you can imagine. It was zooming in and out of me. It was looking inside of me. It was looking at all the different dimensions of me, and I'm like, now that is God's technology, you know, and this is a technology that we should strive for and think about as well. Or just how a hawk is able to hear the mice in the field from so far up. Now that is quite a sophisticated boom mic, don't you think? So
yeah, it's, you know, the word God, that's another one that's such a tough topic. But if there is a God out there somewhere, or a mind or consciousness, you know, if you want to know it, look at nature. That's one of the most immediate manifestations of that brilliant intelligence. And whether you're a scientist or a priest, whatever you are, that's the one thing that everyone can agree on, is the genius of nature. The only difference between a scientist and a religious person is their terminology. They're worshiping the same thing, the beauty and the magnificence of creation, you know, and they dispute on where it comes from. Nobody really knows where it comes from. One claims to have found it, the other one claims that they have not found it, that the religious people have not found it, and that there's more to research. But essentially, we are worshipping the same thing. And you're right, it's nothing that can be duplicated by man. You do have the scientists like the late, well, he wasn't a scientist, but the late Christopher Hitchens, who I liked. I liked a lot of things that he had to say, although I never resonate with people imposing their views on other people, and that's the one thing that I did not resonate with his atheistic views. How talking down to, say, people who choose to believe in something that I don't resonate with.
Patronizing.
Yeah, but the man had many brilliant points. But another thing that I fully don't see much value in is criticizing nature. That, you know, one of the arguments was towards the creationists that, well, if the creator created this and this and that, why is it so flawed? Why is the eye so flawed? Why is the solar system so flawed? There's only like 1 degree. Yes, well, they're something along the lines where if the Earth was off by like 1 degree, then there would be no climate for life. So it's a really fragile place for Earth to be. And they're right in a way. The timing and everything was perfect. And maybe we wouldn't have this form of life, but who's to say we wouldn't have some form of life? So I suppose, to criticize nature is not the best way to come to understand it, because to date, mankind has not built anything better, has not built anything new, probably because we are part of nature, so you cannot create something outside of yourself that you're not. You can only create what you are.
Or to duplicate it perfectly as well, the way nature does it. Everything within nature recreates it. When one little seed falls off the tree, and after a proportion of time, it becomes another magnificent oak tree, and it's just incredible. I mean, like, we can't do that yet.
Oh, exactly. And the recycling system in nature, the only thing that interferes with that is obviously mankind, but everything else is in such symbiotic harmony where whatever they put out and take in is in perfect harmony in terms of, entropy and life being born again. Ice ages passing and coming and passing again, leaving tens of thousands of years for life to flourish. And then to be brought down again. It's pure genius, and we haven't really found a way to duplicate that, even with our technology. We put out toxic waste with our technology. We're completely dependent on non-organic materials when it comes to our technology. Very few things in our technology are based on organic things that can degrade and actually fertilize the planet once they're dead. We discard things, we pile up garbage, and now we're recycling things. Well, there's a lot of things we can't recycle. And technology is moving so fast that it's causing more and more garbage on the planet, because the iPhone you have right now is already obsolete the day you buy it. Because they've got like 10 more versions planned out already that you're going to buy next year and the 10 years after that. So the arrogance, I think, has to be looked at, that there's a way to be a scientist and there's a way to promote technology and use your mind in alignment with the things that we cannot quantify, with a higher order, whatever you want to call it. There is a higher order.
So you do suggest we just need to humble ourselves a bit more?
I think so, especially I think the scientific world, because maybe not so much as the scientific world, because a true scientist is a very, very humble mind, a mind that has absolutely no interest in opinions, only in reality, anything that can be measured and given and as evidence for further progress, but more towards the diehard proponents of either technology and science, or the exact opposite, or just religion. It's the same problem, it's the same stick. An extreme scientist or an extreme atheist is the same thing as an extreme fundamentalist. In an Islamic country or a Christian country, two ends of the same stick, completely off course. The idea is to merge, is to unite all these possibilities into something bigger. Because maybe a lot of people would want to live in a purely technocratic world. I think it would be a dead world. I don't think it would be a very fulfilling world. I think we would need art and imagination and joy and love and all the things we have now, plus science and technology that open the doors to the universe. I think there's room for both. I always do.
I don't look at the world as being flawed because we have climate and we're very, in a very delicate situation in that way, with just the slightest change and all the things that could come from that. But my dad always taught me there's great perfection in imperfection, and that is the actual perfection in that way. So, I mean, if we didn't have it this way, then we wouldn't have this amazing opportunity to explore such extremes and dualities and polarity, So I find that incredibly a great gift, and particularly for a soul that might have come from a heavenly place where things were, very tranquil, but not nearly as exciting as being here and having all these different things to learn and excel in and explore.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you know, you and I can talk about this stuff because we resonate with these things, and we've had our own personal experiences, which you could label as spiritual if you want to.